Today I show a technique how to refashion a sweater by slicing it to make it fit better. You can either use this upcycling technique to make your sweater bigger, but you can also do it purely decorative. I'm calling this one sweet sweater slicing. A long time ago, last year, I bought this sweater, went out to the store to buy special washing detergent for wool, threw it in the washing machine, it came out this big. I've been stretching it out when it was wet, but it is clearly went from oversized to undersized. Also there's a little hole here suddenly. Let's close that first so we can focus on our sweater upcycling tutorial. It's knitwear, so I'm using a little zigzag stitch. Mirror on the wall. What the heck are we gonna do with this sweater? I hate wearing sleeves that are just a little too short, so we need to add some length to it. I think we have to somehow add a little bit of width, because in the armpits it does feel a little bit tight. So I realized that when I lightly pull the seams apart, it shows the linking thread, which I could easily slice through with my seam ripper. As the edges of the knitted panels are usually finished on the machine, they will stay intact this way, but if you don't mind any fraying, which we're gonna fray a lot later anyway, you can also just cut close to the seam to open the side seam of the body as well as the underarm seam. Then we are looking at a sleeve dissected, and we're gonna further dissect it as a means to add some length first. So I'm taking my Sharpie to draw a cutting line onto the fabric. Wait, something sounded not quite right. Sharpie on the fabric. Are you crazy? Okay, I always do this, but you shouldn't. Period. Question mark. So I came up with this sort of V shape, centered a little bit to the front of the sleeve, but you can do any shape you want. Trying to draw a somewhat parallel line to the first one, but it's gonna be all a little bit messy anyway. So I feel like we don't have to exactly measure everything out. Then I'm gonna use these pieces as templates for the other side. However, remember to not copy but mirror the pieces. I said don't copy but mirror the pieces. Yeah, flip that around. Just in time. Now the magic can begin. Introducing a second layer of fabric. Yes! It should be at least as wide as the sleeve, because we have to cover the entire cutout. Because it was not really quite cutting it yet. I wanted to add one more cut, mostly just to keep the black parts a little more subtle and narrower. But what if you own a sweater that you want to spice up, slice up, but you don't want longer sleeves? Easy, just remove some of the yellow fabric or leave one of the parts out and replace it with the black fabric. But in my case, you may have guessed it, the black parts correspond to the extra length added to the sleeve, which I'm just guesstimating to be honest, but you can also just measure it out when you fit the sweater. Otherwise, just check the length in the mirror like me, who has a microphone problem. Again, it was one of those days again. But probably something with the sleeves long enough. And I'm hungry, I guess.
The next day.
We are on the edge of glory. Living on the edge, sewing on the edge, but not over the edge. I keep a little bit distance, about 1 centimeter. With my little zigzag stitch. Don't forget it has to be a little stretchy. Sewing everything in place as we pinned it. Now the challenge is to have it somewhat similar on the other side. Probably easiest to just eyeball, but of course you can also measure a little bit on the other side how much distance you have used in between the parts. Barely fits on my fabric. Or the joy of upcycling. But it's stretch. We can make it work. Did I already tell you you have to take a stretch fabric? No, seriously, it will actually look better. My plan was to also do on the body a lot of cuts. But now that I'm looking at it, I feel like because the contrast is just quite hard. I might leave the length as it is. It's a little bit short, but I feel like just long enough. As you see, that all fitted perfectly.
Oh, no.
Okay. The black fabric was a little bit too small. Absolutely nothing to write home about. In fact, we're not telling anybody, okay? Just try to cut the minimum off and don't change the shape of the sleeve too much. Keep it a straight line and we'll be perfectly fine, hopefully. Yeah, you're thinking. This kind of looks like your 7-year-old niece tried to make a Kill Bill costume. Then first of all, you should have never showed that movie to your niece. Sicko. But yeah, just does not really have that certain I just killed somebody je ne sais quoi quite yet. I did think that the edges would fray a little bit more, but that's all due to the fact that the edges just look like I just cut them. I just cut them. I hope at least. Take your stiletto. Slice some loops, fray it out, fluff it up, lightly pull, stretch to assist a little, but be careful, because we don't want to ruin our zigzag stitch.
3 hours later.
Sometimes it's even more work to make things look raw and unfinished than it is to make it look polished, but anyway. I feel like this makes all the difference. We need this really nice fluffy edges. And I post a little work in progress on my TikTok. Someone's posting about how you can upsize your sweater by just putting it in water with fabric softener and stretching it out. Don't use fabric softener. It's really not good for almost anything. Reduces the natural properties of the wool. Lastly, to make the fit of the body a little more relaxed, I'm gonna add just a strip of black fabric all along the side of the body and the underside of the sleeves. Just like, take a rough guess, Bruce Lee, of course. Wait a minute. Who is who in this world? But yeah, we do nothing more than add a straight piece into the side, as well as in the seam of the sleeve below the arm, of the same width. So it's gonna look like one continuous straight strip of fabric. Who wore it better though? Comment below. Both sides I cut a strip, as long as the sides seem up to the armpit. Just guesstimating the width rather on the larger side, because it's easier to make it smaller. But you can also take measurements on a sweater that fits you well to get an idea how much to add, so you have a desired circumference. Same method for the sleeve. Just another strip of fabric of the same width. And don't forget to add seam allowance all around for all pieces. I'm gonna reuse the cuff of the sleeve that's already on there. But if you want to create a hem, add extra length for that. Then sewing the two pieces together at the small seam that's gonna be in the armpit. I had my overlocker serger thing out already. Otherwise you can also just close it with a zigzag stitch on the sewing machine. Armpit check. So first of all, I'll just add the side panels with the serger too. Now that it's out anyway. But I do feel like now that we have these sleeves so gorgeously sliced, it kind of only makes sense if we somewhat do it the same. Trying to have my armpit seams match up. I'm just gonna do inside outside seams basically, so it matches the slicing situation. But close it however you want, inside out, outside in, maybe not upside down though. Using pins, safety pins, whatever you can still find in your little box. Maybe not the peanut. Oh well, do what you must. I forgot to add a hem in the bottom, but I think it's fine. It's only here, this little piece on the side. If you want, you can hem that too. Fold it in twice and zigzag over it. When both sides are in, take a moment to fit it, to check if the width is okay, or you need to change the side panels a bit. I'm gonna close it with a zigzag stitch again, and because that is usually not really the most pretty contrasting stitch, I'm gonna sew it black but keep yellow in the bottom, so I have for both sides the right color. And then just close the side panels on all sides. Lastly, please cut the fluff. Curating my fluffy edges just a little bit more. The devil's in the details, and we don't want it to be too big, but And nothing more satisfying than giving your sweater a good old shave to make it look brand new. That is, for about an hour. Lastly, I had some out of focus shots and I ripped out of my pants. I hope you enjoyed this thrift flip tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. Next time we're gonna try to texture real leather with a technique I just discovered by accident. So that's gotta be really fun. Thank you so much to my Patreons and everyone who supports the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Leave a comment for the algorithm. Another fun fact to know about wool is that getting everywhere.